The scent of burning sandalwood mixed heavily with the bitter fragrance of spiced wedding wine inside the secluded bedchamber of the Prince Ning manor. Jiang Li sat motionless on the edge of the carved rosewood marriage bed. Her slender hands, hidden beneath heavy crimson sleeves embroidered with golden pheasants, were clamped together so tightly that her knuckles had turned stark white. Her breath came in quiet, shallow hitches. Outside the courtyard, the evening air was humid with early summer warmth, but within her chest, cold terror held her in an unyielding grip. Footsteps echoed down the wooden gallery outside, measured, slow and soft, accompanied by the faint rustle of heavy brocade. The carved door creaked open. A slender wooden rod, tipped with polished jade, reached beneath the fringe of her crimson bridal veil. As the weighted silk was lifted away, Jiang Li looked up, her heart pounding against her ribs like a trapped bird. The candlelight illuminated a face of startling, quiet beauty, high cheekbones, pale porcelain skin, and dark, vacant eyes that stared forward into the dimly lit room without seeing her. It was Prince Ning, Song Jingyi. He stood dressed in ceremonial crimson inner robes, tall and upright, yet reputedly blind and frail following a mysterious, sudden illness that had struck him the previous autumn. Song Jingyi did not move toward her immediately. He leaned lightly against the headboard of the daybed, his head tilted as if listening to the faint cadence of her frantic breathing. "Do not fear," Song Jingyi spoke. His voice was soft and cool, like mountain water spilling over smooth river stones. "They will not live long. Just endure a little while longer." Jiang Li's breath caught in her throat. They will not live long? At that exact moment, she did not comprehend the sinister depth behind those quiet words. She only understood the terrifying reality of her immediate situation. Her elder twin sister, Jiang Yang, had secretly committed treason by swapping their wedding sedans. The imperial decree issued by the emperor 6 months prior had been absolute. Jiang Yang, bold, fierce, and competitive, was betrothed to Prince Ning, a prince stripped of court authority after losing his sight. Jiang Li, quiet, reserved, and gentle, was betrothed to Min Shi, the newly crowned top scholar of the imperial examination and a rising star under Grand Secretary Yang's patronage. Jiang Yang, refusing to spend her life tied to a blind, disgraced royal, had carried on a covert affair with Min Shi. On their shared wedding day, amid the chaos of the dual bridal processions in the capital streets, Jiang Yang had bribed the sedan bearers to swap the palanquins. Defying an imperial marriage edict was a crime punished by the extermination of 9 generations of the Jiang clan. Your Highness," Jiang Li whispered, lowering her gaze and bowing deeply. She deliberately rasped her voice. "This servant, I have caught a severe chill during the procession. My voice may sound rough and altered tonight." Song Jingyi tilted his head slightly toward the sound. "Is that so? Your voice seems quite different from when I paid respects at your family manor last month." Jiang Li's hands trembled beneath her sleeves. "The wind along the river was harsh, Your Highness. I beg your forgiveness." A quiet beat of silence stretched between them, long and suffocating. Finally, Song Jingyi nodded faintly. "Then rest early. A cold is not to be neglected." He turned away and navigated the chamber toward the washing basin. To Jiang Li's surprise, his movements were extraordinarily fluid. He did not stumble over the low wooden footstools or the heavy carved chairs scattered across the floor, as one might expect from a blind man. When he removed his outer crimson robe and stood in pale, moon-white silk near the flickering brass oil lamp, he appeared less like an invalid and more like an immortal carved from icy jade. "You ate very little at the evening banquet," Song Jingyi said, gesturing toward a small square table near the screen where a steaming bowl of thin noodles sat covered. "I instructed the side kitchen to prepare something plain. Have some before you sleep." Jiang Li's throat constricted. Why was he so attentive? Her selfish sister had abandoned this noble, gentle prince for a scheming courtier, leaving Jiang Li to navigate the deadly minefield of royal deceit. But she had no room for self-pity. If she failed to keep up the pretense, her parents, her brother, and her entire household would be dragged to the execution grounds before dusk tomorrow. Dawn broke over the capital in shades of gray and pale gold. As the newly wedded Princess Ning, etiquette dictated that Jiang Li must enter the imperial palace that very morning to present tea to the empress and the high-ranking consorts. Panic seized her as she sat before the copper mirror. While she and her twin sister shared nearly identical facial features, those who knew Jiang Yang well, including the imperial consorts who had met her during palace banquets, might spot the subtle differences in her softer posture, her gentler brows, and her quieter demeanor. Desperate to delay any palace summons, Jiang Li formulated a risky plan. As she stepped down from the raised platform of the marriage bed, she intentionally allowed her foot to catch the edge of a carved wooden footstool, sending it crashing across the floor as she let out a sharp, audible cry of pain. Clatter! Ah! She fell back onto the mattress, clutching her left ankle. Within seconds, the door opened. Song Jingyi stepped into the room, his ears twitching toward the noise. "Did you hurt your foot?" Before Jiang Li could offer a feigned apology, Song Jingyi closed the distance between them with swift, effortless strides. He leaned down, his warm arms sweeping beneath her back and knees, lifting her cleanly into his arms. Jiang Li gasped, her hands instinctively clutching his broad shoulders. He smelled faintly of dry pine and winter plum blossoms. He set her down gently upon the edge of the bed and squatted down, his long, warm fingers cupping her bare heel. "Which ankle is it?" he asked softly, his thumb lightly pressing near her joint. "Is it bleeding?" It is just a minor sprain, Your Highness," Jiang Li stammered, trying to draw her foot back from his touch. "There is no need to make a scene." "Nonsense," Song Jingyi said calmly, raising his head toward the door. "Send for Physician Wang immediately." Half an hour later, Physician Wang, a middle-aged imperial doctor with sharp, intelligent eyes, entered the chamber carrying his wooden medicine chest. After a brief, gentle palpation of Jiang Li's ankle, he turned to Song Jingyi. "The bone is untouched, Your Highness. It is merely a light strain of the sinew." "Physician Wang," Song Jingyi interrupted smoothly, his vacant dark eyes staring into the distance. "The weather is turning muggy and warm. An open sprain or improperly tended sinew is highly susceptible to evil draft influences. Is it not? Should she not refrain from walking entirely?" Physician Wang paused for a fraction of a second, his eyes darting between Prince Ning's composed face and Jiang Li's anxious expression. He instantly caught the subtle undertone. "Ah, of course. His Highness speaks with great wisdom," Physician Wang declared solemnly, clearing his throat loudly. "A tendon injury takes 100 days of absolute stillness to heal properly. Her Highness must not put weight on this foot under any circumstances." Physician Wang retrieved thick rolls of medicinal cotton and heavy white linen gauze from his chest. With meticulous, exaggerated care, he wrapped Jiang Li's left foot layer after layer, bound it with wooden splints, and tied it off until her foot resembled a giant, solid white rice dumpling. "Rest well, Princess." Physician Wang bowed low. "I shall write a prescription for soothing herbal stews." "Thank you for your trouble, physician," Song Jingyi said softly. "I shall treat you to fine tea another day." Once the doctor departed, Song Jingyi turned to Jiang Li. "Since your foot is gravely injured, we must dispense with the tedious palace formalities. I shall send word to the Empress that you are bedridden and unable to pay respects." Jiang Li sat on the edge of the bed, staring down at her massive, gauze-swathed foot in utter disbelief. He had effortlessly dissolved her greatest, most dangerous obstacle before she had even managed to speak a full sentence. On the third day following the wedding ceremony, custom demanded that the bride return to her maiden household for the traditional homecoming visit. Because of her severe foot injury, Song Jingyi personally accompanied Jiang Li in a spacious, horse-drawn carriage to the Jiang manor. Upon arrival, Minister Jiang and Jiang Li's elder brother greeted Prince Ning with stiff, terrified bows, quickly guiding the prince to the front reception hall for tea. Taking advantage of the separation, Jiang Li slipped away into the quiet inner courtyard, her heart burning with a mixture of rage and grief. There, standing beneath the shade of an old flowering peach tree, were Jiang Yang and Min Shi. Jiang Yang wore fine silk robes of pale violet, her chin held high, her eyes flashing with her typical stubborn pride. Beside her stood Min Shi, looking sharp and handsome in his official 6th-rank court robes, though a trace of dark anxiety shadowed his eyes. Jiang Li, Jiang Yang sneered, stepping forward without a drop of shame or regret. Why are you looking at me like that? What is done is done. Min Shi loves me, and I love him. Why should 4 people suffer in misery when 2 of us can be genuinely happy? Jiang Li stopped in her tracks, her fists clenching within her sleeves. You swapped the sedans. Jiang Yang, do you have any idea what you have done? So what if I swapped them? Jiang Yang crossed her arms defiantly. Father was terrified. Mother cried. But look, nothing happened. Prince Ning is blind and powerless. He didn't notice a thing. Min Shi is the top scholar of the empire, a personal favorite of Grand Secretary Yang. In 10 years, he will be a prime minister. Why should I throw my youth away on a blind cripple stuck in an idle manor? A heavy footsteps echoed behind the pavilion. Minister Jiang rushed into the courtyard, his face red with fury. He raised his arm and delivered a harsh, echoing slap across Jiang Yang's cheek. Crack. You arrogant, reckless, foolish girl. Minister Jiang bellowed, his shoulders shaking with rage. You dare speak such treason in our own courtyard? If the Imperial Guard discovers this deception, 9 generations of our family will be beheaded or exiled to the frozen northern borders. Jiang Yang stumbled back, clutching her bruised cheek. Her fiery temper exploded. She grabbed a porcelain tea set resting on a stone table and smashed it violently onto the paved ground. Strike me then! Kill me! Jiang Yang screamed, tears of anger spilling from her eyes. I am not afraid of death. If the prince finds out, let him kill us all. I will never go back to that dark, quiet manor to serve a blind man. Jiang Li stepped forward. Her gentle face, usually serene and mild, hardened into an expression of icy, lethal fury. She reached out, grabbed Jiang Yang's sleeve, and dragged her forcefully toward the courtyard archway. Since you are not afraid of death, Jiang Li said, her voice dropping into a dangerous, quiet rasp, come with me right now. Prince Ning is sitting in the front hall. We will kneel before him together and confess the crime of defying the emperor. Let him decide whether our family lives or dies today. Jiang Yang shrank back, completely cowed by her quiet sister's sudden, terrifying rage. Before the tension could break, footsteps echoed from the front corridor. Song Jingyi was approaching, guided by Jiang Li's elder brother. Madam? Song Jingyi's calm voice carried through the courtyard. Is something wrong? I heard elevated voices. Jiang Li instantly clamped her palm over Jiang Yang's mouth, thrusting her back behind a stone pillar. She adjusted her hair, took a deep breath to steady her chest, and stepped smoothly out into the sunlight with a soft smile. It is nothing, Your Highness, Jiang Li said smoothly, walking up to take Song Jingyi's arm. Just my sister and her husband having a small, silly quarrel over domestic matters. Song Jingyi's brows relaxed. I see. They returned to the main hall to share the formal afternoon meal. Min Shi sat across the table, his eyes darting toward Jiang Li's hands as she attentively poured tea for Prince Ning. A flickered look of strange loss and resentment crossed Min Shi's face, as if he felt betrayed that Jiang Li had adapted so quickly to her new status. Minister Min, Song Jingyi spoke casually, picking up his teacup. I hear you are currently serving in the Imperial Henlin Academy. What are your long-term ambitions in court? Min Shi straightened his posture, a hint of arrogance returning to his voice. Grand Secretary Yang wishes for me to gain 2 years of administrative experience in the capital before sending me on an assignment to the southern provinces to temper my skills. Upon my return, I shall take up a post in the Ministry of Rights. A promising path, Song Jingyi murmured softly. Min Shi smiled slightly, looking at Song Jingyi with a trace of condescension. And what of Your Highness? The Emperor announced yesterday that he intends to oversee the reconstruction of the Imperial Sacrificial Altar. Usually, a senior prince is appointed to supervise such sacred works. Has Your Highness submitted a petition to assist? The atmosphere in the room plummeted into an uncomfortable, cold silence. Minister Jiang held his breath. Song Jingyi, however, merely set his cup down without a trace of irritation. I am blind and infirm. Managing such heavy state duties is beyond my capability. Resting well in my manor is my primary priority. Min Shi glanced toward Jiang Li, his voice laced with patronizing pity. Indeed, rest is most fitting for your highness. Jiang Li's eyes narrowed. She picked up a serving spoon, placed a large piece of steamed fish into Prince Ning's bowl, and looked straight at Min Shi with a clear, calm smile. Your highness, is the soup today too salty? Song Jingyi raised an eyebrow, instantly picking up on her subtle metaphor. A faint smile touched his lips. It is indeed a bit heavy on the salt. I thought so, Jiang Li said softly. Her eyes locked on Min Shi. It seems my new brother-in-law has consumed far too much salt today as well. He seems entirely too idle, meddling in affairs that do not concern his station. Min Shi's face turned bright red, choking on his wine. Song Jingyi leaned slightly closer to Jiang Li, his voice low and rich with amused warmth. Madam, I would like more fish. Of course, your highness, Jiang Li replied, carefully removing every tiny bone with her chopsticks before placing the delicate white meat into his dish. The night of the summer solstice brought torrential rain to the imperial capital. Thunder rolled across the sky, shaking the carved wooden lattice of the inner pavilion. Inside the master bedchamber of the Prince Ning manor, a single bronze lamp flickered, casting long, swaying shadows against the silk wall hangings. Jiang Li sat at a rosewood desk, meticulously copying a passage from a Taoist classic to steady her nerves. Across the room, Song Jingyi lay upon the daybed, his eyes closed, listening to the rhythm of the storm outside. Suddenly, a soft, wet sound, like the faint brush of cloth against damp stone, echoed from the roof tiles above. Jiang Li froze, her calligraphy brush hovering above the rice paper. A drop of dark ink fell, staining the character for tranquility. Song Jingyi opened his eyes. In the dim candlelight, his dark pupils were sharp, focused, and entirely clear. The vacant, unfocused glaze he maintained during the day was completely gone. Extinguish the lamp, Song Jingyi said in a low, quiet command. Before Jiang Li could move, the paper window frames shattered inward. 3 figures clad in black, tight-fitting attire burst into the chamber, cold steel blades gleaming in the darkness. They did not utter a word. Their long swords drove straight toward the bed where Prince Ning lay. Jiang Li gasped, her breath catching in her throat. Your Highness! What happened next defied everything Jiang Li had ever learned or heard about the blind, sickly Prince Ning. Song Jingyi did not panic. He did not cry for help. With a fluid, blindingly fast motion, he swept his white silk sleeve across the low table beside his bed. A heavy bronze incense burner launched through the air, striking the lead assassin squarely in the chest with a bone-crushing thud. The assassin crashed backward into the screen. Without missing a beat, Song Jingyi drew a slender, jet-black sword concealed within the hollow frame of his bedpost. The metallic ring of the blade drawing forth cut through the sound of the howling wind. He moved not like an invalid, but like a shadow given form. His swordplay was precise, silent, and lethal. In 3 swift strides, he parried a lethal thrust, slipped past the second assassin's guard, and struck with precise, practiced lethal force. Within less than 10 breaths, all 3 intruders lay motionless on the cold floorboards, dark blood pooling into the woven bamboo mats. Silence returned to the bedchamber, broken only by the heavy patter of rain outside and Jiang Li's rapid, shallow breathing. Song Jingyi stood in the center of the room, his black blade dripping crimson onto the polished floor. He wiped the steel clean with a piece of silk from an assassin's collar, flicked his wrist, and sheathed the weapon with a soft click. Then he turned slowly toward Jiang Li. His eyes met hers, direct, sharp, and unmistakably seeing. Jiang Li pressed her back against the wooden bookshelf, her chest heaving. Her mind raced, piecing together the terrifying truth in an instant. He was not blind. He was not weak. He was not a helpless target waiting for execution. You can see, Jiang Li whispered, her voice trembling despite her best efforts to maintain composure. Song Jingyi walked toward her slowly. The faint, pleasant scent of pine and rain hung around him, but now it carried the sharp, iron tang of fresh blood. He stopped 2 paces away, looking down at her with a calm, unreadable expression. "I have been able to see for 6 months," Song Jingyi said softly. "The blindness was simply a necessary curtain to keep the Grand Secretary and the Eastern Palace from sending 50 assassins instead of 3. He leaned closer, resting one hand on the bookshelf right beside her head, trapping her within his shadow. "And what of you, my princess?" Song Jingyi's voice dropped to a quiet whisper near her ear. The 3rd daughter of the Jiang family was known throughout the capital as a fierce, outspoken woman who rode horses and practiced archery. Yet the bride who entered my manor 3 nights ago hesitates when taking long strides, speaks with a soft rasp to hide her natural timbre, and possesses gentle hands that have clearly spent years holding calligraphy brushes, not bowstrings. Jiang Li's heart felt as though it had stopped entirely. "You are not Jiang Yang," Song Jingyi stated simply. It was not a question. Jiang Li looked up, meeting his sharp gaze directly. The initial panic within her chest receded, replaced by a strange, cold clarity. She knew that a single wrong word would mean her immediate death, either by his blade or by the imperial executioner. "I am Jiang Li," she said, her voice steadying, "the younger twin. Why did you swap?" "I did not choose to swap," Jiang Li replied, looking straight into his dark eyes. "My sister colluded with Min Shi and bribed the sedan bearers on the morning of the wedding. By the time I realized I was inside the wrong palanquin, I was already at the gates of your manor. If I had raised a scene then, both our families would have been exterminated for treason before nightfall." Song Jingyi studied her face intently, searching her eyes for any sign of deceit. "You could have exposed her during the homecoming visit today, and dragged my parents and brother to the gallows?" Jiang Li let out a soft, bitter laugh. "My sister is foolish and selfish, but my parents are innocent. I kept the secret to keep them alive." She took a slow breath and straightened her posture, lifting her chin. "Now you know my secret, and I know yours," Jiang Li said quietly. "You are pretending to be a useless, blind prince to survive court purge, and I am pretending to be my sister to save my family. We are both walking on thin ice over a deep abyss, Your Highness." Song Jingyi stared at her for a long moment. Then, slowly, the cold intensity in his eyes melted away, replaced by a subtle, unexpected trace of genuine amusement. "Jiang Li," he murmured, testing her real name on his lips. "You are far more interesting than your sister." He stepped back, releasing her from his posture, and glanced down at the 3 bodies on the floor. "Clean up this mess before dawn," Song Jingyi called out toward the dark window. In an instant, 2 dark-clothed shadow guards dropped silently from the ceiling rafters, kneeling on one knee before him. "Yes, Your Highness." "Starting tomorrow," Song Jingyi said. Turning back to Jiang Li, "You are no longer just an accidental bride in this manor. You are my accomplice. If you wish to protect your family, you will help me tear down Grand Secretary Yang and Min Shi." Jiang Li looked at the dark pools of blood on the floor, then back at the calm, terrifying man standing before her. She slowly lowered herself into a deep, formal courtesy. "This servant accepts Your Highness's command." 3 weeks passed. The capital appeared calm on the surface, but beneath the quiet exterior, the political currents were churning furiously. Min Shi, eager to consolidate his influence under Grand Secretary Yang, had successfully secured control over the procurement of materials for the imperial sacrificial altar. It was a lucrative, highly coveted position, one that allowed him to control massive amounts of state silver and court favors. However, Min Shi's arrogance had begun to create enemies among the older, conservative officials in the Ministry of Works. Inside the quiet study of the Ning Manor, Song Jingyi sat before a large map of the southern supply routes, spread across a broad wooden table. Jiang Li stood beside him, grinding dark ink against a stone slate while carefully reviewing a stack of copied ledgers. "Min, she has ordered over 40,000 logs of rare cedar wood from the southern provinces," Jiang Li noted, pointing her slender finger at an entry on the ledger. "The recorded price is 30% higher than the standard market rate in the capital." Song Jingyi glanced at the figure. "He is taking kickbacks to fund Grand Secretary Yang's private political network." a classic maneuver for a rising courtier who thinks he is too clever to be caught. If we present this ledger directly to the censorate, Grand Secretary Yang will simply use a scapegoat to take the fall and shield Min Shi. Jiang Li said thoughtfully, "We need something that directly ties Min Shi's personal signature to illegal tax evasion." "And how do you propose we obtain that?" Song Jingyi asked, tilting his head up toward her. A subtle, clever smile touched Jiang Li's lips. "My sister, Jiang Yang, has always been fond of expensive jewelry and fine silk. Min Shi has been spending lavishly to keep her satisfied in their household. Tomorrow is the mid-month gathering at the Treasure Pavilion. Jiang Yang will certainly be there to show off her new acquisitions." Song Jingyi raised an eyebrow. "You intend to use your sister?" "She swapped our lives to seek wealth and status," Jiang Li said calmly, her eyes flashing with quiet resolve. "It is only fitting that her vanity becomes the crack in Min Shi's armor." The Treasure Pavilion was the most luxurious jewelry and antique shop in the imperial capital, frequented exclusively by noble women, royal relatives, and wives of high-ranking ministers. The afternoon sun streamed through the carved wooden lattice windows of the second-floor private tea salon. Jiang Yang sat at a marble table, surrounded by 3 wives of lower-ranking officials, showing off a magnificent pair of dark green jade bangles. "These were brought straight from the southern borders," Jiang Yang boasted, lifting her wrist so the sunlight caught the translucent green stone. "My husband, Scholar Min, had them specially reserved for me before they even reached the capital market." The surrounding noblewomen gasped in admiration, whispering compliments that fed Jiang Yang's boundless vanity. From behind a delicate silk screen on the opposite side of the tea salon, Jiang Li sat quietly with Song Jingyi. Through the translucent fabric of the screen, Jiang Li watched her sister with a cool, detached gaze. "She is wearing the very jade that was seized from the illegal timber trade convoys last week," Jiang Li whispered to Song Jingyi. "Min Shi accepted those bangles as a personal bribe from the southern merchants." Song Jingyi took a slow sip of tea. "The chief imperial censor, Master Lin, is currently sitting on the first floor drinking tea with the Minister of Justice. Then it is time to give them a performance," Jiang Li said softly. She stood up, adjusted her heavy crimson outer robe, and stepped out from behind the silk screen into the main salon. The moment Jiang Yang saw her twin sister, her boastful smile instantly vanished. A look of nervous tension crossed her face, though she quickly masked it with a sneer. "Ah, my dear sister," Jiang Yang said loudly, standing up from her seat. "I heard your foot was gravely injured. Have you finally recovered enough to leave the manor? It must be terribly lonely sitting beside a blind husband all day." The other women in the salon held their breath. Sensing the sudden sharp tension between the twin sisters, Jiang Li did not show a trace of anger. She walked over with smooth, elegant grace, stopping just 2 paces from Jiang Yang. Her eyes drifted down to the jade bangles on Jiang Yang's wrists. "Sister, those bangles are indeed exquisite," Jiang Li said in a clear, carrying voice that echoed across the quiet second floor. "However, if I recall correctly, the unique pattern carved along the inner rim belongs exclusively to the official tribute jade from the southern imperial mines. Such items are strictly forbidden from private trade without a seal from the Ministry of Works." Jiang Yang's face paled slightly, but she quickly snapped back. "What nonsense are you speaking? Min Shi bought these legally from a reputable merchant." "Is that so?" Jiang Li smiled gently. "Then, brother-in-law, Min must have the official customs tax receipt signed by the Imperial Inspectorate. Without that receipt, possessing tribute jade is classified as smuggling state property, a crime punishable by immediate, stripped court rank and imprisonment." Below the balcony, heavy footsteps echoed on the stairs. Chief Censor Lin and the Minister of Justice stepped into the salon, having heard the elevated conversation regarding smuggled tribute jade. "What is this talk of smuggled tribute jade?" Chief Censor Lin demanded, his voice stern and commanding as his sharp eyes locked onto Jiang Yang's wrist. Jiang Yang panicked entirely, her face drained of all color, her lips trembling as she backed away. I do not know. My husband gave them to me. Ask Min Shi. It has nothing to do with me." In her desperate bid to save herself, Jiang Yang had instantly thrown Min Shi directly under the imperial tribunal's spotlight exactly as Jiang Li had anticipated. Chief Censor Lin's eyes narrowed into dark slits. Seize those bangles as evidence. Summon Scholar Min to the censorate for immediate questioning. By evening, the news had sent shockwaves through the imperial court. Min Shi was taken into custody by the censorate guards directly from the Hanlin Academy. Under intense interrogation regarding the origin of the tribute jade, his composure collapsed. To save his own life, Min Shi began revealing internal ledgers and private receipts, implicating several mid-level officials tied directly to Grand Secretary Yang's faction. While the court was embroiled in chaos, peace remained within the Prince Ning manor. In the quiet inner garden, the rain had stopped, leaving behind a crisp, cool evening breeze. Pale moonlight washed over the lotus pond, reflecting off the calm water. Song Jingyi sat in the open pavilion, a long wooden zither resting across his knees. His slender fingers plucked the silk strings, producing a low, resonant melody that drifted through the night air. Jiang Li walked into the pavilion carrying a tray with 2 cups of warm jasmine tea. She set the tray down on the small stone table and stood beside him, watching his hands move across the instrument. Min Shi is currently in the censorate dungeons, Jiang Li reported softly. Grand Secretary Yang has already cut ties with him, claiming he was completely unaware of Min Shi's illegal dealings. Min Shi was merely a pawn, Song Jingyi said, his fingers pausing on the strings. Grand Secretary Yang will survive this storm, but his influence over the Ministry of Works has been severely damaged. We have taken our first major step. He raised his head, looking at Jiang Li in the pale moonlight. His dark eyes were soft, devoid of the sharp coldness he usually wore in public. You handled yourself brilliantly today at the Treasure Pavilion, Song Jingyi said. You knew your sister's panic would force her to implicate Min Shi immediately. I know my sister better than anyone, Jiang Li said. Looking down at the calm surface of the pond, she acts bold when she feels superior, but when real danger strikes, she will throw anyone away to save herself, just as she did to me on our wedding day. Song Jingyi stood up, stepping closer to her. He reached out, his warm hand gently cupping her chin, raising her face so her eyes met his. You saved your family from destruction. Jiang Li, he said quietly, his voice deep and earnest. And in doing so, you brought light into a manor that has been dark for years. Jiang Li's breath hitched slightly. The touch of his hand was gentle, warm, and comforting. For the first time since she had stepped into the wrong wedding sedan, the tight, suffocating weight in her chest began to dissolve. Your Highness, she murmured. When this storm in the court is over, Song Jingyi said softly, his thumb lightly tracing her jawline, and Grand Secretary Yang's faction is dismantled. I will restore your true name to the imperial records. You will no longer be a substitute. You will be my true, lawful Princess Ning. Jiang Li looked into his dark, clear eyes and saw no trace of deceit or cold calculation, only an absolute, unshakable sincerity. She smiled gently, reaching up to lay her hand over his. Then I shall stand by your side, Your Highness, Jiang Li said softly, until the storm passes completely. The moonlight bathed the quiet garden in pale gold as the faint melody of the zither lingered in the cool summer night, marking the beginning of a bond forged in secrets, danger, and unyielding devotion.